Welcome to Childhelp's Dare to Care podcast, where every story of struggle transforms into a beacon of hope. Together, we'll uncover the courage to rise above our challenges and rediscover joy and resilience. Let's dare to care.
Due to the sensitive nature of the content, viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Pena, and this is the Dare to Care Survivor Series podcast. We are broadcasting today from the Center for Positive Media. I'm here in studio with Michael Maduro, who is the Chief of Staff for Childhelp and my co-host for this series. And we are so thankful to be joined today by a survivor and a woman who inspires all of us, Annie White. Annie, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you sitting down to tell the story. And so much what we're trying to do with this series is tell survivor stories.
That's correct.
Inspire people to speak out.
Yes. You know, the opportunity, first off, thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for joining us today and giving us an opportunity to hear your story, but really understand where your story took that next chapter, where that element of survivorship came from the trauma that you experienced, and how you've shaped your life today. Because I want our audience to know that survivors are incredible in the journey that they take.
And Annie, we want to talk a little bit first about a concept that you have really tried to practice throughout the journey. And we're going to talk about what happened to you and what you walked through in just a moment. But talk about this concept of forgiveness. When you've gone through something so hard in your life and you feel so mad, rightfully so, how do you even begin the process of forgiveness?
By crying a lot. It really is kind of what everybody tells you. It's you forgive yourself. I think, especially once you start the healing process, looking back, there's that hindsight's 20/20, and you're more upset with yourself of how did I not see? How did I not know this wasn't okay? Right. How did I think this is normal? Or how did I think and believe like it was all me? I was the problem. And especially with believing that it was all me, I'm the problem, I didn't want to be in trouble anymore. So I wanted to fix it. How can I better? How can I better? How can I better? And really through that and educating myself is how I was able to really work on that forgiveness, because it really does start with just yourself.
You had to forgive yourself. Talk a little bit about what you went through as a child.
My earliest memory of molestation was at the hands of my cousins, and I was about 5. I have 2 memories from that time because it was also when adults in my life had been either informed of the act or even walked in on the act. And it was always this, we're going to talk about it later. So I never really knew it was wrong or anything. I remember being 5 and oh, this is fun, feels different. And then, but not knowing but that's not how you have to, you don't have to. It just kind of transformed into being in a situation where by the time I was 12, I met my ex and the father of my children. And it was very easily to be manipulated by him. I didn't see it as anything different than what should be. That's what I was. I was a girl and he's the man, and I am supposed to kind of obey him and please him and be there for him, whether I liked it or not. And so it also made it, because I didn't know any different, very easy for him to work that control and manipulation. Our relationship started off in high school, and that was the love of my life. And I'd found my soulmate, my person. And I just believed that everything he did was because he really did want to protect me. And if I would just shut up and sit down or stay out of the way or have done it right the first time, then it wouldn't have been my fault. He wouldn't have reacted like that. And I went through that treatment for a long time. In the process, I lost like 2 children. My last pregnancy is what really, I was pregnant back after back once he joined the service. And the loss of my last child, William, I had to give birth and everything. He was a stillborn. Really made me have to go, this is it. Like, I have children here, and the way they're being treated and what we're living in and this can't be right. There has to be better. And I kind of just started making that mental process then of like, how can I be a better mom for the child I lost, for the children that are here? And working through, like, I was the good mom. Like, he was the disciplinarian, so I was like the mommy. So it definitely, it was easier to kind of like baby them and pull them together and give them that safe space to where eventually they could open up to me about their own abuse they'd been going through as well.
So you were dealing with a cycle of abuse. And it sounds like at a certain point you came up and realized, I can't let this go on.
Right. Yeah. I had tried to like not really leave, but just kind of have like what I thought was a normal life, like try to get a job and stuff like that. And I always quit my job. So it was never like his fault that I lost the job. But it was either like I'd come home to, you know, you're messing around, you're seeing this person, that person, like any kind of story he could come up with in his head. Or he would just sit in the parking lot of my work during my whole shift. Like, he was the bodyguard, never left my side. I had no freedom. And then I would leave the workplace because, well, you get harassed by coworkers about your friendly little stalker. And it doesn't make it a pleasant experience. And so that's really when he had taken complete control of me. And I just was like the stay-at-home mom. And that made it even harder to realize like some of the treatment and some of the things going on just weren't right. I didn't work, and he did. So the money was not mine. So financially, I was also stuck in a position to where I had really no choice. My youngest and I did a lot of car trips to just find food banks so that I had like a schedule, and I knew if I hit 3 in one day, then I'd have enough by the end of the night to come up with some kind of meal for all of us to eat. And those kind of things didn't really bother him like they should have. And so they didn't. We're poor and we don't have a lot of money because we only have one income coming in. But he would spend his money any which way he wanted. And then like sleep wasn't something that we were allowed to really have. And it was almost like when he wasn't around, like our lives had to pause. Like you're not allowed to do anything because if you do something bad could happen. So you're just kind of paused. And then once he's around, it was, we just revolve around him.
How long did this go on for?
I was with him for 25 years. There was a time we were living in Wyoming, and my health had crashed. I had gastric bypass surgery, and we thought it was, I thought it was just complications from that. My health really crashed. And I was having surgeries like almost every 6 months. They did a hernia fixing. They took a gallbladder. They did a partial hysterectomy, just trying to figure out the pain. And I kept telling like everybody, like, it just feels like Godzilla grabs me up and starts squishing me and I can't breathe. And I know for a fact, like I have to completely stay calm. I cannot lose control of my emotions. And all I can do is just force air in and out. And these pain situations were happening a lot when we lived in Wyoming, to the point where I kind of not really like gave up, but was like, I don't know if this is ever going to end. I'm so scared I'm going to die. I would tell my friends that I felt like my human body kept trying to die and my soul was like holding on for my kids. So we ended up moving here to Arizona where my mom and dad had settled down. And because I was like, my kids need my mom. Like,
Yeah.
they need like a woman, because he's mean too. So we need like, and that's another thing, like men are aggressive and this and that. So he was fitting exactly what he's supposed to do. So now there needs to be a woman for especially my girls to learn from like the woman side as well. Like, you're allowed to be sensitive and this and that. And it was like, with my mom's support, she would really speak up. Like, she believed he loved me and that he was just trying to make the best decisions. But she'd be like, but wait a minute, why can't, she's out with me right now. Like, she's out with her mother. Why can't she just be out with us without 15 million phone calls? Like, why does this have to be a big deal? It's okay. Everything's safe. And so I was able to kind of start breaking free and using her. And slowly my health started to improve. I also noticed when those attacks were happening that I was more likely to, as he would put it, I wanted it that night. Like, I was waking him up. I was after him after that. But I'd be like, but I don't, like, I would remember it like nightmares the next morning. Like, nothing really would make sense. It wasn't until after I finally did some EMDR treatment for my childhood trauma that I was able to see like how he was manipulating things. And it was after I told him I felt raped. With having the EMDR, I was finally able to tell him, like, I know you're my husband and I know like I'm supposed, but I feel raped by you. And it's making it very hard and I don't like that. And he still made it as it was all my fault and everything. But I couldn't get over the last time because also my daughter, we had a huge fight because I had felt raped. And he went on and on about how it was my fault and left for work. And I was just in the fetal position crying and screaming, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And my daughter came up and just wrapped around me and just kept repeating, you're right, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. And trying to like list off like, let's go for a walk and raise the sun and, you know, all these things that you like doing. And she, you know, trying to pick me back up. And it was that moment that I decided my daughter can't be my battle buddy. She can't be the one bringing me and giving me my strength to get out. Like, I have to do it for me.
What a beautiful story of your daughter. I mean, I love that, you know, let's go bring the sun out. What a beautiful analogy. You're talking a lot about power and manipulation and control of one person over another. And we hear that so much from people who survive trauma and abuse, is that for such a period of time, they felt like they had no control. They felt like they were overtaken, that somebody could control every element of their life, from how they felt to what they experienced to what tomorrow looked like. Go back a little bit on when you were talking about, you know, even when I was 12 years old, you know, he would make me even if I didn't want to and didn't feel good. Did you ever feel like you had a safe person, a safe adult in your life that you could have spoken to, that you could have gone to with this?
Realistically, like, my mom and I had a great relationship, and I should have gone to the very first time I was ever had a sexual experience, like as a teenager, I went and told her right away, like crawled in bed, cried to her, like, that was scary. Don't like it. Don't know is that what it is? I don't ever want to do that again. And, but his abuse and just the way he made me think, it was, well, you said yes. I asked if I could tie you up. You said yes. And it just became like such a common thing. Like, well, I just want to know like you so I can satisfy you. But it would be like tie me to the bed, or I couldn't take showers by myself. So it just got to the point where like I didn't even want to go into the bathrooms alone or change anywhere near him, because immediately it was going to be something.
Right. Right. And it sounds like when you got older and you had children of your own, that you recognized that your mom could be that safe person, right? For your children, somebody that could embody femininity, somebody that could embody what is appropriate for a man and a woman as far as their interpersonal exchange should look like. And those are two things that I know as an organization at Childhelp, we really want to see more youth understand is first and foremost, if you're ever feeling like you're in an unsafe environment or somebody is mistreating you or doing something wrong, say something. Find somebody safe that you can go to and express, hey, this is happening to me or might be happening to someone that I know or someone that I care about, so that we can come together and embody support and safety around that individual. And then it's not your fault, right? I mean, the idea of you laying fetal position on the floor and your daughter finding you in that way is so heartbreaking, and it had to be heartbreaking for you in that moment. But she was so right, and I'm glad that you were able to recognize that as well. It's not your fault. It's years and years and years of trauma and manipulation and power inequity that really created the emotion of that moment. But how brave you were. I mean, I love how brave you were to recognize in your own right, no, for my daughter, I have got to be that powerful woman that I am and be able to show her what a powerful woman can be and should be, so that she doesn't have to grow up and experience the same type of mental and emotional hardships that I unfortunately had to go to because I didn't have that type of experience.
Yes. And when you started to gain your power, as Michael was just talking about, this is a really important part of your story, because so many women, they don't know how to get there. Men too. I mean, it's, but in your case, you know, the power structure that you found yourself so vulnerable, when you finally started to gain your power, you're like, I can do this. I can stand up for myself. I can stand up for my children. How did that feel?
At first, it's actually really hard, because also I had a friend who said, okay, it's going to get worse while it's getting better, and it's going to be better. And it is, because like, as you start gaining back some of your power, just start being like, but I don't like that. Like, I don't want to eat a cookie. And just it being your choice of like, I don't want it. And you're like, wow, I'm allowed to say that?
Right.
Or like, I'm going to stop eating cookies. Wait, I don't have to sit and eat the whole pack of Oreos. I can choose to like stop now, because we'll have Oreos again. That's great. But it's so heartbreaking, because it's so easy. And then you start to see like how much control and manipulation really you were under. And I know when I met my husband now, I would cry. Like, I'm like, you are awesome, but you make it so much worse, because you just love me. And I don't understand. And like, how and why? And it's just easy. You just love me? Like, I haven't even done anything yet. Like, what do you mean? Because
for so long you were made to feel unworthy of that.
Right.
Right. And now you're finally in a relationship with somebody who values you for you.
Yeah.
Who sees and shows you the worth that you deserve. And I can look at a powerful woman right now sitting in front of me, being vulnerable, sharing her story and her trauma in an effort to help people understand that forgiveness of self is where it begins. But that's not a one moment snap in time, right? That's a journey that you go through. And to surround yourself by people who see you for the beautiful, powerful, strong person that you are. And I'm so happy for you. I really am so happy for you.
Thank you.
How does it feel to sit here and share your story, share it publicly? And thank you for being in the studio with us and having that courage. How does it feel to speak the words aloud?
It's freeing. I think like a big regret I have is just not talking to my mom. Because also that's what ended up giving me the strength too of being like, all right, here's everything you don't know. And then I'm like, oh, I got support. Like, and she, as moms, especially, we're like, well, kill him. We'll hang him from the highest tree. And so, you have your buddy and you're like, yes, rah. And to realize though, she would have helped me all along. And to become that person and then be able to also show her like, I'm not mad at you. Like, I didn't tell you, you didn't know. So, but to start, and it also makes it click in your head like, oh, okay, it's not normal to play a game of smothering. Like, no one's going to break in your house. I don't need to practice this. It was like after I left, I was talking to some friends and we were joking about our traumas. And I had talked about like this game we would play where he would hold a pillow over my face laying in bed. And I had to stay like really, really still and slow my breath down and stay very calm, control my emotions to play dead, because burglars break in and that's what they do. They smother you. So you want to be dead, look dead so that they will then move on to steal your stuff and then leave. And I was the winner of that game all the time. I did a great job being dead for like 5 minutes. Like I was really proud of that game, which turns out not a game.
Yeah, not really a
That's
game.
actually them smothering you. And you don't have to play that kind of a game if you don't want to. So it, like having all of those, just, it gives you that freedom of like, oh wait, I didn't like it and I can say I didn't like it. And then also it took so long to really be believed as well. I tried during the divorce process to like talk to doctors, and I'm like, okay, I took a really big impact to this half of my face, like something over here. I've lost these teeth. Like there has to be some kind of evidence. Can we look at the bones to see if they fractured and rehealed? Like I'm, from bones and CSI, and let's do this.
Right.
Like find what I'm saying is true. And during the divorce process, I had the judge look at me and just say, I don't find any domestic violence ever happened. So it took like 3 years really after that for me. And like, I'm still building up that, but wait a minute, like now I'm starting to share my story, and also hearing others people's story is this horrible situation of like, great, I'm not alone.
You're not.
I really wish I was so alone, but also so grateful that I'm not alone in this. And those things really are, happening, and they really did happen. And I may not be able to give you the legal documentation, or also I always said I was the perfect battered wife. I didn't yell. There was no cops to the house, because also I would be in trouble. They would take the kids away from me as well, because I allowed him, to be loud and mean and aggressive and this and that. So I didn't tell anyone or show signs of anything. And it was always this fake it till you make it in the outside world. So then that also became fun. Like as you share your story, you're like, wait a minute, I think I'm not faking anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I think I'm me. And that's freeing. And then also like, I just want to shake that into the youth of nowadays. Like, oh my God, wait, stop being insecure about things. Oh my God, you're beautiful. You don't even know how beautiful you are.
So true. So true. And we see that. You're talking about fear of not being believed. So many children talk to us about that, about I was scared to say anything because I was scared that nobody was going to believe me. I was scared of the ramifications and the consequences to myself, to my parent, to my siblings. Overcoming that fear is such a big accomplishment and such a big achievement, because it is so monumental to be able to do that. I'm so happy that you were able to find that strength and that bravery to overcome.
And through this journey, you've found love.
Yes.
And you found the ability to love and forgive yourself. What is your life like today?
The one thing is, and especially like was my mantra during some of the darkest times, was the one thing you can't take away is there's always a smile. There's always a laugh. There's like a weird moment. And especially I have kids, and they're weird as it is. And they're teenage girls. So it's dramatic and weird. So it's like, wait, we have a smile here. We have a laugh here. We have more than we ever did in our entire life of just celebrating our weird and having like just so much fun, and like lights, opening up curtains and like even shades. Like I know we live in Arizona and we want to block the sun, but to have like all the light, and the kids just laugh all the time now. There's so many things. Like we're not afraid of being like stupid or dumb or don't act like that. And so now we just are. And then you're like, whoa, what made you think of doing that? Like you wanted to climb a wall? Okay, well, I want to try too. Like how did you do that? And it just becomes like, wait, we're having a life, and what can I do with this? And being able to have that innocence back has been just the best part.
I love that so much. Annie, what would you say to people who might listen or watch, hear your story, being inspired by you? But if you are, as you know, because you've walked through it, and sometimes when you're in that darkness, it's hard to think of a place of light. What would you say to people to keep going? What words would you say to them if they're struggling through something?
It's so hard, because also I don't think anybody could have said anything to me that would have made me do anything different faster. It really I had to talk to myself. I had to be my best friend. I wasn't willing to tell anybody what was happening privately at home, but being able to just and I did the voice or a video recording, and that's as the internet took off and everything, and that's what people were doing was these video diaries. I didn't want the world to know, so I didn't share them. But I did always record myself and okay, let's see where my mind is and stuff like that. And just starting to celebrate my own silliness and weirdness and the fun of going, wait, okay, I'm pretty cool. And having the courage to be well, I want to go to that restaurant. I like that food. No one in my family likes that food. So I'll go by myself. And I get to enjoy it because you're not going to complain. This is great. Why didn't somebody tell me that earlier? I can go eat the foods I like and I can do it all by myself and I'm my best company. And really just slowly getting that, wait, I like me. And accepting I'm weird and I get loud and I do this and I do that. Talk to any psychologist I'm the baby of the family. I'm already going to be loud. I was a PE teacher. I'm going to be loud. I'm a mom. I'm loud. We were backwoods. We didn't have hey, it's time for dinner. It was, we had time for dinner.
Right.
So just really celebrating that. And then also my kids keep me very humble. I love that where they are in their age, I have to get pulled back into that. It is a big deal. I'm sorry you lost your backpack. It's not really that big of a deal. And my daughter being it is, this is my life. That's my backpack. It has all my stuff. This is a huge deal. And I'm oh yeah, you're 14. Okay. All right. This is a huge deal. What are we going to do?
Right.
And it's also exciting because to watch her process things and learn. And I think that's more what has helped my healing. And that's how I want my battle buddy, is being able to celebrate, watching my kids, in a world now of wonder and celebrating and being oh, wow, what? That? Or, my daughter's so excited she's going to be driving soon. So, of course, we already started telling her about the blinker fluids and all of that. And all the things she's got to get prepared for. And, go ahead, because I'm sure you'll need mommy's help to buy your tires. So if you make me mad, I'll just take them off and you'll have to put them all on by yourself if you want to leave the house. That's fine. You're right. It is your car. So, and just being able to have that and openly talking, nothing is off limits.
Yes.
It does make it very awkward for people. But at the same time, how are you going to know if you don't say something?
Exactly.
And if it's awkward, it's awkward. Who cares? So,
Annie, I just, we just love you. And I just think you have so much to be proud of, the woman you are today, sitting here in all of your power and the strength to speak out about your story. And also just seeing the joy now and you describing your life today can help so many people. So we thank you so very much for coming on with us.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
having
Annie.
me.
And thanks to all of you for watching and listening the Dare to Care Survivor Series podcast. I'm Carrie Pena alongside Michael Maduro. Thank you guys so much. Take good care.
Thanks for joining us on Childhelp's Dare to Care podcast. If you found some inspiration from this conversation, please leave a written review on Apple or Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Keep the conversation going with us on our YouTube channel in the comments.